We've all heard of highway hypnosis, being an altered mental state in which a person driving great distances safely while having no recollection of doing so. As a matter of fact, Christian and I have brought it up on multiple occasions over the course of the lifespan of this podcast alone. But what can be said about instances of missing time that have no explanation at all? Tales that can't be so easily tossed aside with dollar store definitions plucked carelessly and confidently from the asses of skeptics worldwide.
Ooh.
The stories we're about to share with you have been pulled from numerous sources across the internet that all seem to share one key element: missing time with no logical rhyme or reason. And that is Freaky Deaky. You are now entering the realm of the Freaky Deaky, an unsuspecting stop at the crossroads of fantasy and reality, where the frayed edges of make-believe seep into this cookie-cutter white picket world you've been led to believe is far from extraordinary. What you're about to hear are true stories.
Alleged true stories.
Christian, just... okay? Tales of the strange and inexplicable thought only to exist in film and folklore. Although difficult to accept, we do not know everything about this reality. About time or space, what lies beneath the ocean's depths. And try though we might, the unchanging truth remains. There are some things we legitimately cannot explain logically. Christian, we can't start off the episode that way. Okay. We can't. We love our Midwest listeners, all right? You can't just talk shit about the Midwest and expect me to put it in the episode. You're never going to get it. You're never going to get it, okay? The Midwest is fine. You don't have to talk shit. It's cool.
You can't put
right?
words into my mouth.
I'm not.
You don't understand what I was saying.
Yeah. No, it's cool, dude. I think you've really shown your true colors over the course of these last couple episodes.
True colors.
And it's disgusting. Welcome back to the Freaky Deaky. You know what show it is. I shouldn't have to tell you every time, but yet I do. Because I'm OCD, and that's...
the way it should be done also.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that makes sense that I should welcome you back to the show that it is.
Yeah, the podcast overlords have a certain way of doing things that you must not deviate from.
Any hooser. If you haven't already, be sure to check us out on social media at Freaky Deaky Pod on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, at TFD Paranormal on TikTok. And we also got on Discord. We got on Discord for a very particular reason. You can find us on Discord. We don't have enough people on our Discord server to have a custom name. So just search for it, I guess. Or maybe I'll add it to the website. I'll add our Discord server, or if I don't, shoot me a message to remind me. But essentially, we got a Discord server, and I think if people go there, it might actually be kind of cool. People can submit ideas. It's kind of like just a forum, pretty much. So you can submit ideas, talk to us, whatever you want.
Yeah.
We got it mainly for our NFT collections, because I guess that's what you do with NFT collections, is you have a Discord server. And so I was just following the rules. You know your boy.
I have a lot of fun on Discord, so hopefully we'll get some people in there.
There you go. I didn't know you were on Discord at all until just now, but cool. Yeah. So speaking of the NFT project, if you haven't checked it out already, it's on Solana. So if you have yourself a Phantom wallet, throw some Sol in there, you can buy a TFD NFT and you can be listed as a producer of the show. I don't know how many episodes. Maybe we do it forever. Maybe if you're an owner of as long as you hold the NFT, you're a producer on the show. I don't know how it all works. We're still working out the logistics, but it's been fun.
Do the people in Hollywood that call themselves producers, do they really know how it works?
Probably
I don't
not.
think so.
I don't think so. They just usually throw money at it. And that's kind of what you're doing by buying an NFT. That's how you become a producer of the show. You're welcome.
We will give you a product that you will enjoy.
There you go. And if you don't have any magic internet money, you know what you can do? You can buy merch with good old US dollars. Declining as they may be, they are still very much useful for the time being.
Yes.
Shout out 10 years from now when we're both multimillionaires, but we're not going to think about that now because we're still poor. We live in poverty.
Yes.
So please buy our merch. Fresh designs on the website right now, thefreakydeaky.com. I believe it's /store directly to the store. Or if you're not feeling lazy, you can go to the website and then click the store button. It'll take you there as well.
Yes.
Cool. We have Seductive Squatch that is new to the website, where he's posing seductively, kind of like Deadpool in front of the fireplace. Bigfoot is, but he's got a bear in front of his man bits. And I thought about it a little too late. I'm not sure if it looks like Bigfoot is fucking the bear. I hope not, but it's kind of positioned that way. So if that's what you think when you look at it, the issue is with you. is not with me.
Or maybe you just want to wear it and see the reactions to everybody else and what they think, and that'll help you have very wholesome, non-sinful conversations with judgmental people in the world around you.
Yeah, take it that way as well. So yeah, I mean, without further ado, I think we should dive into the episode. Let's get cracking on this, man. We're covering some what started out as missing time, because I get a lot of missing time stories, but what I found was a theme that we've actually probably talked about, a couple stories that have come up in the past, missing time, the people that were traveling. And, we've talked about highway hypnosis in the beginning. We mentioned that, we've talked about it several times on the podcast overall. But these are stories that I don't think fit in with the whole highway hypnosis thing, which is definitely a real thing. We've both experienced it. I pulled these stories specifically thinking that there's no way that you could just simply be like, oh, this is highway hypnosis, end of discussion. So yeah, it turned into more themed about the open road, kind of like the hitchhiking stories. A lot of weird stuff happens during travel, I'm noticing. I like it.
It's a dangerous time traveling the devilish roads of the United States.
Wow.
They're satanic.
Yeah, you just gotta get your Satan shit in every episode, don't you? Degenerate. It's fine. Moving right along. Should we get going? Let's crack into this. I think we touched on what we need to touch on in some kind of, never mind. It's been 8 minutes. I thought in some kind of weird twist of events, we got started relatively early without all the bullshit, but we found our way.
This is relatively early. 8 minutes is.
What a treat for our listeners. 8 minutes.
You're welcome.
Yeah. First one's a doozy.
Cotton Ball Blitz by Reddit user my_alt_4096.
You could probably drop the underscores.
My alt 4096 with 2 underscores in there. For those of you people that need to know what an underscore is or where the underscore is, ignore me.
This is the type of banter that I don't think people enjoy.
I used to work nights a long time ago. I was about 19 or 20 at the time. This was pre-cell phones, so he's old.
Classic.
I got off work around 4 a.m. and usually took about 30 minutes to get home. There's a fairly empty stretch of highway to get home, small farm in the middle of nowhere. Driving along the road, and it was like I drove into a cotton ball. Everything was so white and so bright, it washed out the color. I could only see the road a few feet in front of me, so I stopped and pulled over. It was weird, no panic, just mild curiosity. I got out of the car and looked around. It was cotton ball everywhere and so quiet. And then it wasn't. It was like a vacuum sucked up the whole cotton ball and turned the color back on. I looked around and there was another car maybe 100 feet away, and both passengers were like me, standing outside and looking around wide-eyed. We waved at each other, got in our cars, and left. When I got home, Mom was at the kitchen table and asked where I had been. I gave her a funny look. She said she had been worried as it was almost 8 a.m. I am normally home by 4:30. I would have sworn that the whole thing lasted 15 minutes total. That the sun had come up really didn't register. The missing time didn't register. I'd never turned off the car, and the tank did not reflect it running for an extra couple of hours.
That's an interesting story. And like, I don't usually do this, and stories will pull, especially from Reddit and stuff, but I went through the comments and I found a couple corroborating tales within this guy's story. But first, before we actually, we can read that and then we can touch on it. The first one is from Torsioned Testes. Classic stuff. Yo, my buddy told me this happened while he was riding passenger with another friend in the middle of the night as well. What the fuck? I actually didn't believe him or thought he was just super baked, but I have the worst chills right now reading your story. They didn't get out of the car, but when it finally went away, he said it was like 3 hours later. And then we've got a Dwayne Megan adds, this is a very common report from people who experience missing time. I believe this is a type of abduction experience. So I'm fairly new to hearing about this whole cotton ball shit, but I've heard it a few different times. And one instance, I believe I mentioned it in however many episodes back, but there was that whole town that pretty much, there's like a UFO sighting or something, but it left this weird, like almost like spider webby kind of like stringy discharge in the air, and like people actually picked it up, but at some point it just dissolved, it just disappeared or whatever. And I think I heard that shout out Beautiful on one of their episodes. For the life of me, go listen to the entire catalog. I don't remember which episode it was, but you'll find it. Have you heard many experiences like this? Any kind of stories along these lines when it comes to UFOs or anything like that?
No, I've never heard of the cotton ball theory.
Either have I. Cotton ball. This is the first time someone referred to it as a cotton ball, but I'm going to put it in, I'm going to lump it in with the other stuff because it just seemed, but I just don't really know what it would be. Like, it doesn't seem like it's toxic.
The world is a spider web sent to drain our blood, sacrificing it to the elite.
Is that like a Tool lyric or something? Or
no, that's the Smashing Pumpkins lyric that was left off the song.
Gotcha. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, checks out.
The world is a vampire sent to drain.
Yeah, I think you've mentioned that before on the pod, huh?
I don't know if I've ever used that. I don't usually call.
I think you've word the world is a vampire.
Okay, probably.
Yeah. So you must really enjoy Smashing Pumpkins. You heard it here first, folks.
I used to.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed that one. The fact that, I don't know, is that like, what would you say something like that? Like the fact that when he gets home, he's home 3.5 hours later than he would normally be getting home. You know, is that like, could it be a cloud that passed through? Sure. But or like some low hanging fog or some shit. The fact that they're missing 3.5 hours, that's inexplainable to me, because I don't, you would know, like, right. You would know if you get out of the car and you're like, you look up, you're like, oh, this is weird. And then you see another car and you're like, hey, what's up, guys? Weird, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, very weird.
What if, and this is something I've recently heard about, that sometimes we switch our souls out in the middle of our lifetime. So maybe that was just change out. Hey, man, I'm on shift. You can go home now. All right, man. See you in the next life, soul. Like,
are you talking walk-ins right now?
No, there's supposedly this thing where sometimes the soul that's in your body will leave to go into the next world, and a new soul will come in and take over that same body, explaining maybe some slight behavioral changes and stuff like that, but just your soul.
So you're referring to walk-ins then?
I don't know if it's walk-ins.
That's what a walk-in is.
But a walk-in switches souls in the middle of a lifetime?
Yeah, a walk-in takes over. A walk-in is pretty much like when the soul, you know.
I guess it is then.
Yeah. And I've been saying it forever. People thought Abe Lincoln was walking, but
why? Because he was pro-slavery and then he went to anti-slavery. So obviously
someone that wasn't racist inhabited his body next. No, I'm not sure, but yeah, interesting theory nonetheless.
I don't understand the cotton ball thing at all. I don't understand what it's used for.
Is it like would it just be a distraction? Like, hey, check this out, and then you get beamed up. But my thing is, how would you forget everything immediately? That's like some Men in Black shit. Like, you get beamed up to this UFO, 3 hours pass, they're probing you, tubes all up your ass, whatever you want to believe, and then you get sent back down, and all you remember is the cotton ball fading away. I guess maybe that. Well, not even that, man. I don't know. The fact that you can look over and see a car that is also just as confused as you, did they get abducted as well? I wonder if they had missing time. They had to have, right?
The fact that the story was explained to where they both had like these similar kind of reactions or looks on their face that were just kind of clueless, but like, this is too weird for us to talk about. Hey, nice seeing you. We experienced something. Let's move on and forget about it.
Yeah. There was, I think there was one person that mentioned military exercise. Is it possible this is like a military, like a weapons testing or something like that? Because you look at stuff like, I need a lot of dental work done. And so they always put, like, the last couple times I've gone on free nitrous right over my nose.
Laughing gas.
Yeah. And so that stuff gives you, like, it gives you missing time in a sense. You know, so there is ways that you can get the same reaction using drugs that we have today, right?
Yeah.
That have no smell to it, nothing like that. But, like, is it possible this is like some kind of military exercise where they're testing out different ways to,
like, what you're saying is they're experimenting on us just to see how we experience missing time, or if they can produce missing time.
No, maybe not even. It may not even be missing time related. What I'm saying is, like, maybe it's something to, you know, take us out for a little bit. Just if you need to knock out the population for a bit, hey, drop one of those clouds on these motherfuckers. They're not going to remember a thing. You know,
it's like maybe they do it every time they have to upgrade the system or update. We've been getting a lot of people trying to infiltrate the infrastructure of the programming. So we need to reset it and upload patches so that the aliens can't take over the human species like they're trying to do. We have to constantly upgrade to block their signals.
Yeah.
Because it's not an effective strategy to wear tinfoil hats anymore.
This is the type of stuff that really keeps me up at night. And actually nothing keeps me up at night. I fall asleep very easily. But, like, the stuff that I think about a lot, could this be UFO related? Could this be military? Sure, it could be either of those things. But the fact that something like this could even exist that causes people to. So what, you think this guy's just making up the story and posting it and being like, there it is? Like, for what purpose? For, like, karma mining? You're getting 20 upvotes? You happy with it?
Maybe somebody was talking about a cotton ball kingdom in another place, and this guy just like, oh, that would make sense for a missing time. and they took it over, and then it becomes part of the zeitgeist because we believe it was there all the time, but it was just some idiot making up, like being high and having the munchies for cotton candy. I don't know, man. That makes no sense.
This dude literally, like, and it's not like this is a one and done. We saw a couple of different comments on this guy's story, one of which was like, I didn't believe my friend when he said he saw the same thing, dude. Weird. You know what I mean? So if there's more than one, and then I kind of touched base with a different story that Belief Hole had, like, is this something that's more common than maybe we're led to believe, because it's not as common of a thread when you think of UFOs or you think of, any kind of weird technology like that.
Yeah, it's hard for me to grasp.
I know, but that's what makes it even more intriguing, is that it's hard to wrap your mind around something like that you're like, okay, what is the purpose of this?
Yeah. Does it taste as good as cotton candy to be surrounded by this stuff? Oh, I'm in then.
He didn't mention. He said no word of it. Yeah. But
in my viewing of the stories, I imagine that he lived happily ever after, eating cotton candy without severe health consequences after this.
Wow. Yeah. Well, hey.
Maybe he even worshipped cotton candy, the cotton candy god. CCG, capital G.
2 lowercase c's, 1 capital G. Yeah.
Technically, this would be a lowercase G.
This would be a lowercase G as well, yeah.
Because it's not the real God.
Yeah, it's just a fake one that you've made up in your mind. I got you. Well, how about you lead us down this second story?
High desert hijinks.
I did do it on this one. Maybe it was the other one I didn't do as well.
Yeah. Diesel Down is the Reddit user. Weirdest thing I've ever experienced. I live in a small mountain town, and it takes 3 hours and 4 mountain passes to get to the nearest city. Pre-COVID, I made the drive 2 to 3 times a month over a period of 10 years. I pretty much had the curves and climbs committed to memory. One night, I'm making the drive at 2 a.m. to catch an early flight, cruising the curves and enjoying the lack of semi-trucks. Left curve, right curve. I know there's a big sweeping curve. Oh, that still rhymed. To the left, coming up, when all of a sudden I'm driving on a straight road. I'm well aware there isn't a straight section of that highway for another 30 miles. So immediately I'm looking around trying to figure out where the hell I am. Not a single highway sign on the side of the road. Smacked myself a few times to make sure I hadn't fallen asleep. Phone has no service, but that's normal, so I can't check my location. Looking out the window, I realize the high desert scrub trees have been replaced with a thick forest. Imagine your headlights pick up dark, heavy, can't see 10 feet forest that I would imagine in the Pacific Northwest, something that we don't have here. I'm looking at the clock, and for 15 minutes, I'm driving on a straight road through the ominous dark forest when I should be on a curvy mountain pass in the desert. Right about the time I'm going to have a full-on panic attack, that sweeping left curve appears, and I'm out of the forest back in the scrub. So I chalked it up to drowsy driving and an overactive imagination until it happened again. 2 years later, same spot, except this time, I'm not alone. I had my brother riding shotgun on a similar airport run, and all of a sudden, I'm on the straight road. That time it only lasted about 5 minutes before my brother looked around and asked, "Where the hell are we?" Cue the sweeping left curve appearing and back in the desert. Even though I can't explain it, I'm at least grateful I had a witness.
That's a weird one.
Yeah.
Because us being, desert rats by nature, we can kind of picture that.
Yeah.
And it's a very, very stark contrast.
Yeah. If you haven't driven through the desert, you just don't get it because it's very, very barren.
Yeah.
You get some brown shrubs and dirt.
Joshua trees.
Yeah, some rocks. Yeah. Not very many animals, and not very many happy animals either, if you do see them.
Not very many fun ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all scorpions and snakes and whatnot, and black widows and
lizards that can't stand on all 4 feet at the same time because it's so hot.
Just go like this.
Yes.
It's probably not the best joke for an audio podcast, but yeah. Yeah. What do you make of that? It's almost like a time slip, or straight up, like, I don't even know how would you explain that? It's like you're piercing a different dimension.
Yeah.
Like suddenly you're in a different dimension.
Yeah. You slide out of this one and go to another one. And then all of a sudden you slide back and you're like, what the hell happened?
I wish they would have been more descriptive with the location.
Yeah.
Because that would be something that I would want to try. I would want to go out there and be like, okay, this is obviously talking when we're rolling in, crazy money, but spend a couple weeks out there and just drive that path every single day.
It says high desert hijinks. And it makes me, I'm trying to remember, are there different high deserts in the world?
The only one I can think of is the one we're from, but
yeah,
that's also just the only one I'm aware of.
That's true.
So the scenery, like if you think about Tehachapi, has has greenery, has trees and whatnot.
Right.
Whereas everything around Tehachapi does not. So it could be something as simple as that weird wrong turn. But I can't, if this person was very familiar with that route, I know what it's like to drive the same route every day and be familiar with it. And I can promise you it's never changed. There hasn't been a time where I'm driving, wait a minute, didn't I go through this already?
Yeah.
But I mean, the deserts in general, isn't there a lot of speculation of there being like not portal, maybe portals? It could just be like more activity as far as energy goes.
Those are the stories we have come through time. I mean, at least in the United States, I'm not sure what the deserts of Africa or China are like, but.
Well, there's a lot of, as far as like people like to practice rituals in the desert for a specific reason. I think it was something about energy or some kind of, there's some reason behind it, but.
There's some unproven reason as to why they think rituals in the desert are better than rituals in downtown LA.
Yeah, but we could cherry pick, man. We can cherry pick and say, hey, this guy clearly might have been driving through a portal or something like that. Something opened up to where him, and then just to clarify it, he went through it happened again a couple years later with his brother in the car with him, who also, but then what's really weird is the fact that when he gets to the point where he says, like his brother's like 5 minutes in is like, yo, where are we? And then suddenly that curve appears.
Yeah.
That's just weird. It's almost like it was waiting for him to notice. Like when he noticed, like, oh, that's some glitch in the Matrix shit. I don't know.
Yeah. What if it was a part of the simulation and we slide into this other realm every once in a while, it'll download data so the godlike overlords can write their stories of power across the cosmos. I don't know if that made sense, but it's there.
Yeah.
If you get it, you get it. If you don't,
you're with everyone else. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to go ahead and take us into just a trick of the clock, Doc. And this is by user President Calhoun. And I'm not going to say there's an underscore in there, even though there is.
President _Calhoun. So I did it for you. You're welcome.
Thanks. This didn't happen to me, but to a friend. He had a doctor's appointment and took his dad with him. It was in another town about an hour away, and since the appointment was for 11 a.m., they left at 9:30 to give themselves plenty of time. They pulled into the parking lot at 10:30. My friend said he remembered checking the clock in the car when they arrived and remarking to his dad that they made good time, as you do if you're a man and you show up at a place like, hey, we made good time. So it's guy code. You have to.
You lie to yourself.
Classic. They went into the office and the receptionist pointed out that they were a little late, but that it was okay because the doctor was running behind. My friend told her that he had an 11 o'clock appointment and that he was actually a half hour early. And she pointed to the clock on the waiting room wall, which said 11:15. His dad checked his watch, 11:15. My friend ran out and checked the clock in the car, 11:15. Somehow, in the few dozen steps from the car to the office, they'd lost 45 minutes. When they got home, my friend's mom verified that they left at 9:30, and there hadn't been heavy traffic or delays of any kind. It's kind of a mystery to this day.
Selective memory. They just forgot part of the day.
No, that would be replacing memory. That would be like, oh, no, let's swap it and this happened.
What if the memory is there, but it wasn't important enough to leave imprint? So it's
on
just,
both of them, that they were just sitting there for 45 minutes.
It's just part of the subconscious now.
I don't think that checks out.
Well, how would you know? You can't prove this.
I can't prove that UFOs came down and beamed them up either, but that seems more likely than they just ran both of them together, forgot that they were sitting in a car for 45 minutes, and then before walking into an appointment.
Hey, I've seen Cheech and Chong do it many times.
There might have been other substances involved in that.
Could be.
But I think, I don't know, man. It's but again, like the same thing with if it was like some kind of UFO abduction, or the weird thing with all the alien abduction talk in particular is it would be just as unlikely, I would think, for them to be abducted broad daylight when they're sitting in a parking lot about ready to go into a doctor's office. Like to me, that seems almost as unlikely as them sitting there just phasing out for 45 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know what some of this stuff is, but there's like so much just being gone for a little bit. Whatever you want to call it. Like you just, whether you're driving and you just get hypnotized by the road and you disappear.
Yeah.
Mentally, even though you're still driving.
True.
You know, the fact that your subconscious is basically driving you, or your muscle memory, is kind of scary, but also comforting, because then you have backup systems. But then there's times like this where time is lost and there's no way to figure out how it was lost. I can sit here and say, yeah, they're just having a mental issue of some sort, or their brain's playing tricks on them, stuff like that. But it happens a lot.
Yeah.
So there's some mechanism that causes this in a lot of people, including myself. I don't know how to explain it skeptically without saying that there is sometimes something like this must happen.
Yeah. There's something about time. And maybe it's just the way that we view, like, because we've talked about time being like a human construct in the past, and that, you know, so maybe it's just that we view it as something that it's like we're putting it in a box when there shouldn't be anything like that, you know, like.
The way you said that actually kind of makes sense. Like we make it like a linear thing, and it's not.
Yeah.
So parts of us rebel against it and cause us to misplace some of our time, our experience.
We just get wrapped up in something crazy, and then just we have no way to explain it because it doesn't fit into the way that we perceive it.
Yeah. And we've tried so hard through the years to make our clocks show what time actually is. But that is more just something we use to organize the world around us.
Yeah.
In our experiences. But in reality, maybe on Earth, we have this type of time, but in the universe, that's not how it really works. Whether it's a heavenly universe or just a vast, ungodly universe, time doesn't work that way there.
Do you think, like, if let's hop into a universe where aliens are absolutely absolutely real, right?
Okay, that's fun. I used to be there.
Classic. We're entering there again right now. Do you think it's possible that their advancements with technology, like all of the alien life technological advances, come from the fact that they maybe perceive time differently than we do? Like, and that maybe that's what's held us back as humanity, is that we have so early on we put time in a box and we said this is the way time works. Instead of looking into it further, we were just like, oh no, this is it. 24 hours a day. This many minutes, this many seconds,
I
all
think you
shit.
might be onto something, because if you have, as us humans with our linear time, what we do now, or what, say, people did prior moving into World War I or World War II, because it's linear, we don't see the connections that we have now in 2022 to, say, 1922 or 1918. But say an alien group who has a different perspective on time that is not linear can see the effects of, you know, pre-World War I Europe on modern Europe type of thing. Yeah. So they wouldn't make the same bad decisions that would create a catastrophe down the line. And they're just sitting back watching us constantly do it because we've made this like law of time that we supposedly function through.
And we made it pretty early on in the course of history.
Yeah, maybe as far back as when we were still monkeys, if you believe in that kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's like prehistory is where we form this view of time. We just didn't call it time back then, but it's not much different than the way we look at it now.
Yeah.
All these years, we haven't evolved past that to a point where aliens will come visit us.
Yeah, back then we just called it ooh, 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 ah, ah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which makes a lot more sense.
Yes. Hey, some beings just got exactly what you were saying right there. Yeah. Not many humans, so.
Yeah. Like the other monkey was like, oh yeah, that does make sense. I got this. You're absolutely right, George. Tailless George, as we mentioned earlier. All right, you want to take us into New Mexico? Oh no.
Your chapter titles are on fire today.
That's what I do.
New Mexico. Oh no.
New Mexico, no.
New Mexico, no.
There it is.
From Facebook even. Jennifer Adala. We were off-roading in New Mexico during a family vacation. It was incredibly dark. Gigantic tarantulas in the shadow of headlights. That's when I'm done.
Yeah.
Nothing should ever look like a gigantic tarantula. We were all kind of joking about how close we were to Area 51. The radio stations had all gone to statics, so we sat in silence as we bobbed around over the terrain. Suddenly, a light brighter than day filled the car. I squinted out the back window, and it was a giant V shape. We couldn't see anything but the bright lights. My brother and I hunched down to the floorboards to hide. Then my dad was driving again. It was pitch black again, except for the headlights. My brother and I were sitting in our seats, and we drove on as if nothing had happened. But the clock showed we'd lost about an hour and a half of time. Radio was playing again, and we were facing a main road back to town.
That definitely screams abduction.
It does, but also children.
No.
Children, like...
I'm going to stop you right there. Absolutely not. Are you saying they made this shit up?
No, I'm saying...
They just perceived it differently?
Yeah.
Like a bright ass light, and then they got down, and then suddenly they're driving, and like both of them were just like, yeah, this is what happened.
It could be. We're about to find out how children see the world around them from a perspective of interested podcaster. So, and maybe kids do lose time for whatever reason. I don't know, man. Kids are strange.
I lose time on my childhood now.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember, and that's, I guess, I can't really even say for sure because I don't remember much of my childhood. Not to say it was bad or anything like that, but it was all pretty mundane,
Yeah.
You'd go ride your bikes to the park, hang out with a couple friends, blah, 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 go to school, shoot the shit. It's hard for me to look back and be like, oh, I remember, there's like only a handful of memories that I can look back on and be like, oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
This happened.
Not many for me either.
It's kind of weird.
My sister will be like, you remember this? I'll be like, nope.
Yeah.
Well, this happened. I'm like, really? Okay. I don't remember it.
Yeah, sounds right. Yeah. So what do you, please feel free to continue with your thoughts on this about children being whatever.
I have no true thoughts on what caused this time slip or this missing time, but children are strange.
Yeah.
So you can't really trust what they see or view, possibly because maybe they see the real world and we have, through years of practice, made up a fantasy world where there's nothing magical and no monsters under the bed or in the closet.
I mean...
And magic doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's strange to me that there's so many stories of, I guess, not just missing time on the open road, but because a lot of them have correlations to UFO abductions or anything like that. Like you even look like there's a couple like around the time of like Mothman prophecies and all that shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of the Mothman... I think it was the same town, Point Pleasant. But the time that Mothman was being spotted in Point Pleasant, there was also instances of UFOs like stopping cars on the road or whatever like that, and then missing time yet again. So there's like all these things that play out over the course of history that for me, it's hard for me not to see a pattern in that. It's hard for me not to be like, holy shit, people are being abducted broad daylight or in the middle of the street. But then there's also a quote unquote logical side that is like, well, how would nobody else see that happening in the middle of the street? Like,
wouldn't some of us be noticing our friends disappearing from the time stream for a little while?
Or even if you're on like a road, like even if it's a road that not a ton of people travel, if a UFO were to fly over a car, beam down for an hour and a half while you're, doing whatever to these people, inspecting them, whatever you're going to do, no one would see that? Like not a single person would be driving that road and be like, weird that there's a UFO and there's a car underneath it right there.
And now there's not a UFO or a car.
Yeah.
So then he pulls over and he's sitting there trying to explain to the cops for an hour. And all of a sudden the car gets there back in the same spot just before the cops get there. And now you look like an idiot.
What if, okay, let's take this in a weird direction with UFOs yet again. What if the technology that they have, since we were talking about them in time, what if the beam of light so much that is like, brought down upon this vehicle, what if that's just enough to freeze that section? Like if you look at it like a cube of time and you're freezing that one section in this minute, in this second, in this millisecond, whatever you want to bring it down to, and everything else around it is still going full speed the way that time works.
Which to me makes more sense if time is not linear.
Because then they would disappear, right? They would be like, this is the moment that we're in.
They would disappear, but they could also bring them back without much notice because there's not a linear time. So they're not missing they're just somewhere else. Real time. They're missing from basically recurring time where everything happens at once. So they could be pulled out, dropped back into the same spot.
Without too much. It doesn't affect
much.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like it's a fascinating thing and maybe that's why I'm just so like curious about the whole missing time thing in general, is because it evades me every time I think I get something. And I'm like, oh, maybe it's this. Like it just evades me. It's like, no, it could be this. Yeah. It could be this. And like I don't have a brain that allows me to just sit there and be like, oh, this is fine. It's fine. I have no idea what this is. It's cool.
And I have a brain that's perfect for that. I'm like,
This isn't
whatever,
real,
man.
is what you say. That's your brain's reaction to everything. Yeah, it's not real. Who gives a shit? Yeah.
Or it's real and whatever. There's nothing
also,
I can do about it. Of like, what am I going to do tomorrow?
It's real, and also who gives a shit? So, yeah. And I'm not saying that's a bad way to live.
Yeah. Did it kill anybody? No. Okay, all's good.
That we know of.
It tortured some. How many?
More
Couple
than
thousand.
Yeah.
Compared to what? The other alternative with 10,000? Okay, we'll go with this one. That's fine. That's what, but the people that got tortured don't think it's fine. I passed it to you.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what it is our body's like, you guys started at like 5:30, 6 o'clock.
Now we're tired.
Yeah.
We're feeling it. We're Blink-182 feeling it in this bitch.
I don't get the reference, but I only listened to a couple of their songs.
I know. We've had this exact same discussion on a previous episode.
And we thought it was like a year ago, but really it happened then and now at the same time.
And we're back. Yeah.
Yeah. We never left.
It's, I don't know, man. It's weird. I've never thought of that kind of block theory that I thought about a second ago. And maybe that's, maybe it's so far off base that I'm just like, pulling at anything that could possibly make sense. But I don't know if my brain's really feeling it.
Sometimes I just sit here and we're talking and just theories get formulated in my head as we're talking.
I've noticed. Yeah.
And they're just as possibly possible as some of the ones we're talking about.
That is, I'm gonna just set you straight. That is few and far between. All right. I feel like where the instant constipation came from? It came from the weird ones that you make up where you're just like, this is this and that, and you're just throwing shit together.
You laugh, but one day you might see that, damn.
I'll be like, wow, he was right the whole time.
Yeah.
And right. I kept it from the public. I kept it from everyone. I was like, no.
Like this weird thing where we basically put out a tsunami episode within days of an actual tsunami that we had recorded before then. A couple weeks ago, recorded an episode talking about war. As of this recording, there's a war going on, but that one's not really, like I say, I said that, but a lot of people were saying that I just stole their idea.
Classic stuff.
A lot of people smarter than me were like, oh, we're about to go to war. And I'm like, we're about to go to war.
Yeah, it's really easy to be a echo chamber, isn't it?
Dustin reached out and said, that was prescient on the war. And I'm like, ooh, nice word. I feel smart.
That was what?
Prescient.
Prussian? Okay.
So.
He was Prussian?
Prescient.
He was Prussian.
What if after a while, how we've talked about the TikTok time travelers?
Yes.
What if I got better at predicting the future than them?
Then we would have to get you on TikTok
But I wouldn't be a time traveler. I'd be like, I just know.
Yeah.
I'd be like,
that would make you a prophet of some kind.
Yes. Hopefully a financial kind of prophet.
That would be the best. Profit from the prophet.
I don't want to be a spiritual prophet.
Yeah.
I would like to have.
It usually ends pretty badly for them.
Yeah, always. For either them or the people that follow them.
Everyone all around. But that's neither here nor there. Other instances of missing time that didn't really make this, because I feel like it's a story that's talked about a lot, was like the whole Betty and Barney Hill thing. That's another instance where, again, a car was involved. I don't know, man.
Cars seem to be involved with missing time a lot, which makes you wonder why. Like, I'm trying to think if I hear stories with a lot of missing time that doesn't include cars. And that's probably why I shifted over to it being the open road kind of theme for the episode, was because and don't get me wrong, there were some really great stories of missing time that weren't like the one we kind of touched on a couple episodes back with the kid that was playing his DS, and then suddenly, his friend was shooting hoops or whatever, and was like, can I make it from half court? And then he looks up and his dad's like, what? And he's like in his kitchen table or some shit, like that's technically a missing time story, but it was, I don't know, there's a lot of them, but the theme that I kept coming back to was the open road thing, because it's weird. It's something that I can't grasp. I can't understand how you could be driving and it's a path that you go on all along for however many years, months, weeks, whatever it is. And then suddenly it's different. It doesn't make sense that you can be driving the high desert and then suddenly look around and you're like, what is this, fucking Oregon? I don't understand. Being in the high desert, we realize, or growing up in the high desert, you and I realize that it's kind of a strange place. There are some weird energies.
It's creepy. It's a little creepy at night.
Most of them are depressing. Well, actually, I don't think the night is as depressing in the high desert as the day. Because I think the night's a little creepy, but it's beautiful if you're away from town a little bit.
Sure.
You will never see so many stars. You'll see satellite.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But, if it's daytime, it's just tumbleweeds and dirt and some wind.
And a lot of heat.
Yeah. And all the animals out there just about are not cute.
Yeah.
You'll have a coyote here and there,
Some bunnies.
a mountain lion maybe here and there, some birds, but everything else is reptilian, and humans and reptilians just aren't like compatible.
That's why they're trying to take over, Christian. That's why the reptilians are here for us.
Yes.
And that's why they're not one of the nice alien races, according to everyone that talks about reptilians.
Hey, man, I was brought up with the propaganda that reptilians were scary.
They really do be like that.
Yeah. I mean, I get it, man. They taught me early, don't trust the reptilians.
Yeah.
And I don't know who they were.
But they said it.
But it's like now that I'm like all inclusive as far as alien races go.
Yeah.
Reptilians still give me pause. I can't just quite trust them. Like they are the evil aliens, and they might be the nicest, but
I just can't
the powers that be have convinced me they're not.
They're cold-blooded, Christian. They can't be the nicest.
They're called what?
They're cold-blooded.
Yeah, but maybe that, us warm-blooded beings naturally are tribal with other warm-blooded animals.
Classic.
And we could be wrong. They could be right.
I guess, at some point we'll learn, but for the time being, we probably won't. We'll kind of close out on this last, this is a short one from J-Case 191.
J-Case 191.
Is there an echo in here?
I don't know why. I just like to say Reddit names.
Yeah, I've noticed. Yeah, I was walking home from work. Oh, this isn't technically in a vehicle, but still travel.
Yeah.
I was walking home from work, got off at 3 a.m. I worked at a Taco Bell. I was 19. This guy uses sentences like you do. I was 19, period. Where's the oomph? Where's the pizzazz?
Some of us just do not have a life full of pizzazz.
No, the last episode, the one you wrote, actually had a little more pizzazz to it.
That was really, and maybe that's because I've been practicing writing more.
Yeah, you get a little more free with it as you do it more.
Yeah.
So anyway, J-Case, I was walking home from work, got off at 3 a.m. I worked at a Taco Bell. I was 19, and my walk home was the next town over.
That's a long ass walk.
It's a long ass walk. I'd say it was probably a 45-minute walk for him. Oh, hey, look at that. Look, usually a 45-minute walk. I was walking down the longest road when I see these really bright headlights from behind. I turn to look, and they're right up on me. I get home. I'm getting undressed when I look at my clock. It's 5:45 a.m. I always get in between 3:45 and 4 a.m. At that moment, I realized that I didn't remember anything between seeing those headlights and walking through the door. That would be a little too freaky for me. Like, that would creep me out more than...
That would be pretty creepy. Also, maybe a warning. Don't trust eating Taco Bell food. There will be time slips or missing time.
And it'll be a hell of a time.
Yeah. And your toilets might wish that they had missed some time if your toilets were sentient.
Probably, especially, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not a fun one.
No.
But, I mean, that's another, just chalk for alien abduction.
Okay. For some reason, this story right here made me remember a time.
Did this happen to you?
Where I had missing time.
Really? Okay. Let's go on. Let's get into it.
Okay. And this one probably has a easy to explain reason behind it. But I was in high school.
Yes.
On the baseball team. We had just played a horrible game. So, the next practice was horrible. We'd run these things called a nutcracker. And I'll explain what a nutcracker is. And anybody that's ever hated running and played baseball will understand this.
Can I take a guess at what it is first?
Yeah.
Okay. You are lined up as a team and you run. As you reach the finish line, your coach hits you in the nuts just to be like, hey, you really fucking blew it last game.
In this case, I will tell you about my coach.
Okay.
Coach Iacino. We called him Ice.
Ice.
And this one, actually, if I explain a little bit about him, actually seems like you're on the right track, but you're not. One time, we were fancy. We had a batting cage. Not all schools had them, but I had a batting cage there at Palmdale High School.
Wait, that with the thing that...
Yeah, the pitching machine.
Really? Oh, damn. Yeah,
and the netting around it.
Yeah.
So the coach was in there feeding the balls into the machine, and one of the bit players drilled this one right back at him to where the coach had to go diving out of the way to get missed by the ball.
Yeah.
Even though he was behind something, it was going to basically murder him. So he was embarrassed. So he got up, grabbed the bucket of balls he was feeding him, started throwing them at the kid. And the kid's trapped. There's nets all around him.
Was the kid intentionally aiming for the coach?
No, but he made the coach, Coach Iacino was a little tense.
Yeah.
So your term of getting in trouble to the point where he's going to pick up a baseball bat and hit you in the cup every time you cross the finish line is not far off.
There you go. Yeah.
But it's wrong. So
Okay.
a nutcracker is you line up at home base.
Yeah.
You run to first base.
Yeah.
Touch it. Run back to home base.
Run
to first base, to second base, touch it, run all the way back.
Gotcha.
And you do this all the way around. When you get to home and run all the way back, that's one.
That's when it hits you in the nuts.
No, you never get hit in the nuts.
Well, then it's a weird name, Christian.
Yeah, it is a weird name, but some dumbass high school kid probably made up the name for it.
Oh, yeah. It's probably very immature.
Yeah,
what should we call it? Let's call it a nutcracker.
Yeah, but it has nothing to do with our nuts. Yeah, but whatever.
Even better.
Yeah. So, we were doing a lot of these. We were doing a lot of laps around our quarter mile.
Sure.
Basically, I think I ran 6 miles that day.
Damn.
I don't remember a good portion of it. And neither do a lot of the other baseball players on that team that day. It's just like, could it be runner's high where you get into that zone where it's automatic. You don't feel the pain or nothing.
Yeah.
Or, it could have been like multiple personality type of thing where I was in so much pain and suffering that another personality took over and did the rest of the running for me. But either way, there is time missing in my life that Coach Iacino is responsible for in one way or another. Maybe he's an alien. I don't know, man. Maybe I was abducted.
So you just don't remember what that actually makes me think of? And I'm actually glad you brought that up because somehow it was not in this script. A guy talking about military exercises, and that was his missing time.
Was it similar?
Yes, but he said, and I'll I can't find the story, but I can reference it enough to where it'll make sense. But pretty much, it was this guy said when he was in the military, he was doing like they would have like these kind of war drills where they would during the day you'd run these drills, and then during night they would do attack like simulations where they wouldn't let you sleep at all.
Yeah,
and so he said something about like I think it was day after day 3 or 4 or something like that of this type of shit. That your brain just starts blocking out time. Like he was like, I would be sitting there and we'd be doing something and then suddenly I'd be in a trench and there would be, stuff going on all around me or I had to help this guy and then it flashed and it was like, suddenly I'm back. It's daytime again. He was like, I don't remember anything in between any of those. And this happened a lot. And it was almost like something like where you get to the point where you're so exhausted or you're overworked that your brain is just literally falling apart on you. And it's like anything that it doesn't absolutely necessarily need to keep, it's just going to throw it out as it comes in.
Right.
And so it's like, and I was going to put that in there as like kind of a skeptical look into it to where it's like, okay, this is something that we don't really know the backstory of these people per se as whether or not they are overworked or if they're exhausted or if they've been pulling all-nighters for a week because they've been studying for something or, there's a lot of different things. But the way this military guy worded it, I was like, oh, that's really like, I've never heard of those particular drills, even though I guess it makes sense in that, in that scenario. But the way he worded it, I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Because if we knew a little bit more about the backstory of some of these people, like this kid that was, walking back from Taco Bell or something like that, the bright light obviously makes it seem like it could be, UFO related, but he's also walking along a road. It could just as easily be a car.
Yeah.
And then his brain just shut off and didn't come back on. He was just maybe staying in the woods for an hour. You never know. But
another thing I would go with more on a skeptical take is you remember being young like that, where you could basically run on barely any sleep, maybe an hour here and there, quick nap.
Yeah.
You could run on it, but I don't know if you always things happened. And when I take my skeptical view, I think sometimes, and I don't really feel like anybody that listens to us takes my skeptical views that seriously, or I don't feel like I'm some condescending, I can't think of the name of the guy that's the big skeptic out there now, but I'm not like ridiculing people that believe in aliens or ghosts or demons. I'm like, yeah. Maybe I think it'd be cool to see some of this shit for the world like that we're here talking about to really exist, for there to be aliens. It would be kind of fascinating to have alien abductions, but some of these things that happen to people are nothing more than like that military guy or me running all that time. So those are the things we have to pull out of there.
Yeah.
That we sometimes don't. Is my missing time while running is more than likely just my brain shutting down for a little bit. going on autopilot, which we can do really well. We do that every day.
Yeah, the highway hypnosis thing we talked about earlier.
Or even at work.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times do we shut our brain off at work and just go through the motions every day, right?
I don't know how to answer that because I don't know if anyone from my job listens.
But some of the stuff is just automatic. You don't need to think about it because you've done it so much. It's not that you're not working.
Yeah.
It's just that some things you don't need your full brain to be there.
Yeah.
Like I can do different portions of my job while totally constructing how I want to write that John D episode for the last week. And I'm still doing my job just fine. But these are basic things that I don't need to be there.
Yeah.
On completely.
But it's easy to see how you could like overheat your brain doing something like that.
Yeah.
It's just like a computer. You're like, oh, too many actions being taking place. I know I get super stressed out if I think about something and then like I'm like, oh, I gotta remember to do this. And then like I'm doing that and I'm like, oh, I gotta remember to take care of this. And it's like, fuck, dude, just stop. Like pick one, do it. Move on. Like make a list of shit you need to do. Don't just keep remembering shit to be like, oh, I got to take care of this. It's a fucking annoying.
Well, even with the podcast, one thing I've had to do is shut down certain things, ways of thinking.
Yeah.
Like I think when I was writing the John D episode, Mandy was playing an audio book in the background. Now, when you're writing, you probably know this. You could probably listen to music and be okay. But if you listen to somebody else who has written something and you're like, it's really hard. So I had to put in like headphones to like block that out. I found I can't even really listen. Like I can listen, like let's say it's classical music or something like that doesn't have lyrics. Yeah.
Instrumentals, sure. But if it's bands that I'm aware of, then my brain is singing along with it.
Right. I need music that doesn't have very many lyrics.
Shout out Set App. I pay for a subscription on my Mac that is $10 a month. And it comes like, it's pretty much like Creative Cloud, but with just a bunch of different apps. And literally there's like 50 apps that you can choose from to install and they all have great use. There's this one that's just in a little menu bar. It's just a little play button and all it is lo-fi beats.
And which is great for writing.
Yeah. And that's what I tried for the last couple that I've done is like literally I'll sit there. Instead of having a TV on or something, I'll just unplug everything, just push the little play button and just look into these stories and look into certain things and piece things together. And I'm like, holy shit, like it's lo-fi for whatever music, lo-fi beats is a lot. It's easy for me to hear without getting like too caught up in it and be like, oh, what's this? Or I really love this jam or, so I don't know. So that wraps up Missing Time. So if you enjoyed that though, we do have a couple more stories that we're going to be adding to our YouTube. To close out this episode though, Christian thought it would be a good idea to share a listener story, a short listener story. And so that's when we're going to close it out. Christian, I'll let you take it away.
All right. Let me find the story. This is from one of our listeners, Abby.
Shout out Abby. What's up?
And so she sent me this story. And basically we start. Something sat on my bed last night and it moved my blanket twice. This sounds like your realm of experiences.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah, not mine. But I want you to talk some sense into me because I was so scared. I felt pressure on my legs and even saw them go into my bed, and I couldn't move them. I was panicked and shined my flashlight from my phone, and I freaked out. She has a baby named Andrea, and Andrea woke up a little bit before it happened, and I was scrolling through TikTok when it happened, so I wasn't dreaming. It was so scary, Christian. I'm not kidding either. Then she throws in, maybe I have a brain tumor. Maybe she visited or had a visit from a shadow person is what it sounds like to me.
But she didn't see the entity. It's just impressions in her bed from the sounds of it.
Yeah. She said I couldn't move them, but she felt the pressure on her legs. Well, she said she saw them go into her bed. Whatever it was, she saw it go physically into her bed. So
I'm picturing just like an impression, like you see like the bed go down because like something is sitting on it.
Right. That's the way she explained it.
And that, so not physically seeing an entity, but seeing the shit move around what an entity would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's number one, fucking creepy as hell.
Yeah.
Is that the end of that story?
She said it happened twice. And it happened again when she was up nursing the baby and wide awake. Because we talked about, like I kind of messaged back and said, maybe you were still partly asleep.
Yeah.
But she said she was up nursing the baby, wide awake. Her heart was pounding so hard that it was so scary. She took her baby and went to her brother's house.
Yeah, that's the move. No,
Yeah.
Abby, number one, smart move.
Yeah.
Because And that's what I'm talking. And I'm glad she worded it that way. Like her heart was like sitting there pounding, you know, because when you see something like that, your mind is telling you, hey, this shit doesn't exist.
Right.
Not in our world. It doesn't. No way. This isn't a real thing. It can't be happening. But somehow it's happening right before your eyes. And that's what I constantly say with people that don't believe this stuff is when you experience it, it's just different. Like when you can actually physically look at something and be like, oh, that doesn't check out. You get scared. That's the first instance you're going to have. Your heart starts going, ba-doom, 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 ba-doom. And like, yeah, I get it. It's freaky as hell.
Me being a skeptic, I would search for actual scientific, real world reasons why this may happen.
Yeah.
But that doesn't take away the fact that this person, Abby, saw this. You've seen it. Many of our listeners has seen this stuff. Therefore, on some level, it exists. I can bring all these sciencey, skeptical ways of explaining it away. But if you see it and feel it, it's an actual thing, no matter what, whether it's in your mind and you produced it mentally or whatever, these things happen.
Yeah.
And scientifically, we might be able to explain it, but these are actual experiences people have. And I will always respect that. That's why it's fun to get these kind of stories, because I'm not here to ridicule our listeners because I have a skeptical view.
Yeah.
I believe people experience these things.
Yeah.
You know, not me many times, but we've gone over a couple of things throughout the time where I have experienced something strange.
Yeah. And a word to producer Scott, if you could insert the clip of Christian saying, I was wrong.
I am wrong.
Thank you. Yeah. So it's always fun. Yeah. I have a whole Rolodex of words that or nice phrases you've given me. But that Abby, your story reminds me a lot of a story I heard from my friend who might actually be coming up here for an assignment. I have to get back to him. He messaged me on Facebook a couple, I think it might have been yesterday. I don't know. What is time? You know, he messaged me yesterday, I believe, saying.
What is time?
Exactly.
You should say it.
What is time? It's not that. But he messaged me yesterday saying that he might be getting an assignment up in Alaska and asked how far away I am from Anchorage. And I told him, I was like, and so if he comes up here, I'm going to ask him to come sit in on an episode. But the time he gets in is pretty much when my son will be born. So it might be
hectic.
Might be a hectic period. But if he does come in and tell that story, if he's willing to tell that story, because he's got a pretty good job now, I might have to.
Well, here's the thing with anybody that wants to tell us stories, whether it's live or through the telephone line, through email or whatever, through comments.
Yeah.
We can change your name.
Yeah. Or just when you tell us a story, if you want us to say a different name, be like, can you just call me this or say it's anonymous? We can do all that stuff. We just want to hear you guys' stories.
In this case, Abby did give me permission to share the story and use her name.
Shout out Abby.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if my friend comes out here, his story, and I've talked about it a little bit on the podcast, but he's the guy that, you know, he's playing video games and he sees the handprints imprinted in the bed next to him. And had this entity throw his PlayStation 2 controller or whatever into a wall. Like all kinds of crazy shit was happening in that house. He had a paranormal team that was like on TV come to his house to like look into shit that was going on. Like it was awesome. A crazy story in Vegas. And so if he's down to tell it, then I will absolutely ask him to come sit in, regardless of how tired I am from having a newborn.
Well, the whole point of us changing our recording time to like 5 to 6 in the morning is to get prepared for that so we can still put out content.
Yeah.
When you're a new father, exhausted and delirious. And I think we're going to find Scott sees a lot of crazy things when he's tired and delirious. The veil to the other world thins at that point.
You know what I'm most nervous about? Having a baby monitor and seeing some shit. Like seeing some episode 1 supernatural bullshit. And I'm like, wait, what the fuck? And it's me that gets, pinned to the ceiling and caught on fire. I don't want that, Christian. That's not for me.
Let me support China in some thinking. And what helps you in this situation is a good dog.
There you go.
And then a little bit later, a good cat that is a kitten. Once the dog is patient enough to be able to handle your cat and raise your kitten in a way that's good for everybody. Otherwise, it's too chaotic with a new baby. But you get a dog, about a year later, you get yourself a kitten because your dog's temperament's in a good spot.
And we got a good old nuclear American family.
Yeah, you got 2 spirit animals to protect your baby at all times.
True.
One from demons, and the dog just like, hey, this is here, cat, come get the demon.
There you go.
Because they work together great.
They do. Go get those greebles.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think that, shout out to Abby again. And Abby, not to really cash in on all your scary stories, but if anything else happens, please do feel free to let us know. We love hearing this stuff. We don't love living it, though, so peace be with you.
And also with you.
And also with you. I was hoping you'd say that.
Yeah, I was in church. I was an altar boy.
Makes a lot more sense why you don't like religion, Christian. My dad had the same issue.
I was in a great church.
Stop lying.
Father Olson was like a hero to me, and because he was such a kind person. Eventually, he wanted to get married, and he left the church that he belonged to.
As you should.
Yeah, you can still do God's work if you're not a priest anymore.
Sow your wild oats.
Yep.
You know what? It's possible.
At 65.
Even better. It's like, I haven't been laid, damn it. No. Hilarious.
I think he even moved to Europe.
As you do, yeah.
Scandal, though, at the church.
Oh, he got moved to Europe is what you're saying.
No, I think he ended up marrying somebody that went to the same church. But he was a good man. He was a good man, you know, and you know when you meet somebody that's a good man.
Yeah.
And that's the way he was. So we can make I'll joke about it sometimes, not on the air, because those are uncalled for.
No, you've joked about it the last few episodes, and I've had to put you in your place immediately as the recording is starting.
Yeah.
You've touched on race, you've touched on religious. It's fine. Guys, I think that's all we got for you. I think that's all we got. Yeah, we're about to go film some bonus stuff for this episode in particular. So just excited about that. Christian and I are going to catch up on our caffeine, and we're going to wake the fuck up because we got to film some stuff, and then we got to go to a baby shower. Maybe I'll post some pictures of the baby shower on the Instagram. So if you're hearing this right now, you've definitely seen those because you're following us on Instagram at Freaky Deaky Pod. Same with Facebook and Twitter. And if you're on TikTok, you're going to follow us at TFD Paranormal, and you're going to like it. And if you have a story of your own that you'd like to share with the show, please send it in to the gang at thefreakydeaky.com. In the meantime, we will see you next week right here on the Freaky Deaky. Good night, everyone. I'm assuming you're listening at night. Goodbye. See you later. Don't miss any time. This one's over.